The process of becoming exactly who you're meant to be is one of the most terrifying but exciting things that you can do. And this is because it requires peeling back the layers and looking beyond your social conditioning to understand your true, deeply held beliefs, values, and meaningful pursuits that you want to pursue in this world. And look, on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, but it's really not. And I'd argue that in modern times, it's way more difficult to become the person you're meant to be than ever before. So that said, in today's video, I'll be discussing why this is and how you can go about becoming your true, authentic self in modern times, especially if you're feeling like you just don't feel like yourself anymore. So Nietzsche talked about this idea of the Übermensch, which I mentioned in another video. I'll put up in a card somewhere in the corner. This is the idea of becoming your highest version of yourself, a higher human being, somebody who clearly defines your own values and your goals and what you believe to be true within the world. Now, Carl Jung took this idea even further, and Carl Jung went on his psychological and spiritual journey after breaking off with his mentor, Sigmund Freud, who's known as like the father of psychoanalysis. And through his research, through his personal journey of becoming his most complete self, he realized that most people only live a partially developed life. They never really become who they're truly meant to be. They instead identify with social masks and rules, ideologies, and collective expectations that other people determine for them. And look, on the surface, I completely get it. People want to fit in. We are social creatures. We need others to thrive and survive. When you're outcasted or just not accepted by the group, then it feels really terrible. And because of this drive to fit in and feel accepted, you act in the same way. You take on the same beliefs. You do the same things as other people rather than becoming who you're really meant to be. Because in becoming who you're truly meant to be, then that might mean being laughed at or being cast aside from the group in whichever group you're in. But this internal resistance only feeds into your shadow, which is something I talked about in another video. And as a result, you become resentful, you become cynical, you become reactive, you become hateful of other people who have integrated those parts within themselves. You experience all these negative emotions because you're pretending to be somebody you're not. You're portraying this false reality out to the world in order to hopefully be accepted. But deep down, you know you're lying. You know it's a fake. You know your entire life, that mask you're putting forward to the world, is all a facade. And you just feel incomplete. You feel like there's a part of you, and that is a very big part of you, that's not being integrated within your own life. And this is why so many people, especially in modern times when everybody's trying to act in a performative way and fit in with others and show off on social media, that's why so many people don't feel like their true selves. They feel like they're just playing a character in this cosmic game of reality. And you know deep down that, yeah, maybe I should integrate these parts of myself. Maybe I should be my most authentic version. But it's just so hard because, as I mentioned, people want to fit in. People want to feel accepted. And because of things like algorithms and tribal politics and consumerism and endless distraction and this identity performance, like I mentioned before, it's very hard to actually be yourself. And all these things here create a mass-mindedness, and this creates some sort of a psychological disconnection within your very self. And if you're, let's say, 35 years old or younger, then you've had the internet for most of your life. And your very being, your very identity has been influenced by these external forces for most of your entire life. Me included, I am not above this at all. I'm within that bracket. And I found myself losing myself at times. I found myself doing these certain things in order to fit in or portray a different version of myself than who I really am to the world. Ultimately, it feels like the right thing to do in that very moment, but when you zoom out and you look at the whole picture, it's really not. And this is why, in my opinion, it's so important to step back from the noise, unplug, and just assess your values, your beliefs, and things that really matter to you. What goals you're moving towards, what ambitions you have, what things you don't want in your life, because otherwise you're just going to keep living the same life that you've been living, essentially following through on somebody else's script. And look, I want to make this very clear. Becoming who you're meant to be, becoming your most evolved self, this doesn't mean striving for perfection. Even the most spiritually enlightened beings in history, the people who have integrated their shadow self and the anima and the animus and things that I'll talk about in other videos. These psychologically whole people, you could say, they have their flaws because nobody's perfect. But you can and should strive for this in-depth awareness of yourself. Because if you don't understand why you are the way you are, why you think the way you think, why you act the way you act, then, as I mentioned, your life will just continue to go on autopilot and you'll be living out somebody else's version of the truth. So you'll be living out somebody else's script. Look, becoming your most authentic self and stepping into who you're meant to be, it's a lifelong journey. You're not gonna do 20 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of journaling, 20 minutes of mindfulness as you clean your house and all of a sudden know who you are, who you're meant to be, know all your goals, know all your values, all your beliefs. Nah, it's just not feasible. I don't care who you are. I don't care how smart you are, your race, ethnicity, the country you were born into, your religion. Now, this will take years. But these are things that I encourage you to do every single day. Spend some time doing inner work. Spend some time being mindful. Spend some time assessing those values and beliefs and why you think the way you think. Because nobody else is going to do it for you. I can tell you what you should do. I can tell you the things that I've done. But ultimately, that won't change your life. You'll just accumulate more knowledge and your mind will feel more mentally bloated. But if you don't take action, nothing changes. And so along this journey of becoming who you're meant to be, remember that a lot of people won't like it. A lot of people won't like you. They'll feel bitter, resentful, and maybe even think you're crazy. This is because oftentimes these people are going through similar issues as you are, but maybe they're just at a lower state of development or consciousness within their own life. Keep doing your thing. Don't worry about the opinions of other people, especially people who aren't willing to go on that inner work journey for themselves and understand who they're really meant to be in this earth. And yeah, just stick with it. Like I said, this is a lifelong journey. It'll take years, but the more inner work you do, the more understanding and awareness you try to build within yourself, the better life becomes because you're not acting in this performative nature. You're not trying to be somebody who you're not. I hope you enjoy this. I hope this makes sense. If you enjoy this, be sure to share it with somebody who you think would really benefit from it. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon.